Okay, we are live. Good afternoon. Welcome to Conversations. We have Councillor Tim Cartmell on the show today. Welcome, Councillor. Thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the chance to have a conversation.
Sweet. Did you have a good summer, Councillor?
Yes, I did. Thank you for asking. My wife and I managed to get out of town for a few weeks, and during that time, we were able to actually completely detach from the work of City Hall and City Council. So it was a really relaxing break. So it was great. Yeah.
Awesome. And when we talk about what you do at City Council, what parts would you reflect on as being the most rewarding?
Well, I think the most rewarding is the conversations I get to have with constituents, both individually and in groups. It's really rewarding and something that I really came to enjoy. You know, when I first ran for office in 2017, the one thing I really thought I would struggle with would be door knocking and meeting with people and public speaking and those kinds of things. And that has turned out to be by far the most rewarding and most fun part of my job. Part of that is understanding what people are looking for from City Council and from the city, and having an opportunity to help people solve the individual concerns that they have or problems they might be having is really rewarding. So it's without question the best part of the job for me.
I hear that you may be thinking about running for office at the end of this term. Is that true? Have I bought into a lie?
Well, I haven't decided what I'll do at the end of this term. I'm pretty much focused on the next 3 and a bit years. That's the length of term for City Council, and so I'm focused on that work. My role as a city councillor is to represent, in a more granular way and in a more individual way, the constituents of Ward Behasewan. But my responsibilities as a city councillor are also to do the best things for the city and to represent the city where that's needed and where I'm asked, to interact with other levels of government in support of the city. So I enjoy doing all of those things. And my focus is really there. I won't turn my mind to what I'm going to do after this term until closer to the end of the term, I would say.
Of course, fair enough. Well answered as well. Would you say when it comes to granular meeting people, that you have experienced maybe anything like Minister Freeland experience from the hands of people when you go door knocking? Because that is a huge favor for me. And I'm not a politician. Does that ever happen to you when you go around doing your work, sir?
It does. It does happen to me. We do get very rude and at times threatening and vulgar emails and phone calls to my office. And I can, what troubles me about that is that I have two very capable and earnest and hardworking assistants, both of whom are female. And it's really unfair that they are often the first to see some of that communication that might be intended for me, but is not at all respectful or really worthy of contemplation. So that's what bothers me about it. I don't mind. I shouldn't say it that way. I can manage when people are aggressive with me and they use that kind of language, and I can find my way through it, or I can find a way to disengage from that conversation. I do not get, as a male, and maybe provocatively saying, as a white male, I don't get what people of color get. I particularly do not get what women of color get, and it's absolutely shameful and regrettable that there's some that think that they have the right to treat anyone this way, never mind using fear and intimidation and bullying tactics, towards others. It's shameful conduct. There is absolutely no excusing it, and I really wish we could find a way to go back to that more respectful and intelligent exchange of ideas in our politics. We're not going to agree on everything. We have different perspectives. That's the beauty of a democratic system, particularly a municipal government, where you bring people from different parts of the city, from different walks of life, from different lived experiences, and you come together to make the best decisions you can in a consensus model. Nothing should be permitted to undermine that ethic, and I find it very disappointing and disturbing, and I'm very keen to try to find a solution set that takes us away from this kind of activity.
Thank you very much, Councillor. I'm just wondering, would you say the rhetoric has reduced since 2017, or we are seeing a peak of hostile political climate? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I hope we've seen the peak, because if we haven't, that means it gets worse from here. And I that to me would be profoundly troubling. It is worse than 2017. My predecessor, Brian Anderson, and I had many conversations about what the role of a councillor was, what you might expect, what your responsibilities were, what your points of contact were, who you might talk to, and who might want to talk to you. All those things that went into the life of a councillor. It is so different today than those conversations we had in 2016 and 2017. It's there's a faint resemblance in how the life of a councillor, or what the life of the councillor is, and what they will encounter today versus what it was 6, 7, 8 years ago. It's there's no doubt it's worse, and I fear that it's going to get worse from here.
Councillor, I am very mindful that your council has done, you guys are doing a lot of work, incredible work, as a matter of fact, to protect people of color and women of color. Your council is very sensitive to these needs. I know this because I listen into your conversations or discussions on YouTube. So, what would you say your council is doing everything they can do to protect women of color, hijabis, BIPOC women, Indigenous women? Are we seeing the best of what you can do to protect them?
I think that we're trying to do the very best we can every day with the tools that we have that day. I would hesitate. I would hesitate to say we've done everything we can, because I always think there's more we can do. I always think that there's another potential solution, or another way to model behavior, or another way to change what we've seen in our city and in our society. So I don't think we're done, but I think we are trying every day to do the very best we can. We don't have all of the tools necessarily that we might want. Some of those decisions, some of those policy documents or procedures, some of those pieces of legislation live at other levels of government that that we cannot on our own change. That we have to lobby for change or adjustment or revision or refinement. But I do think that our council is trying very hard to change the circumstances that particularly women of color, particularly Muslim women, have encountered in Edmonton. Part of that is understanding, I think, just why those things are happening, what causes aggressive people to act out. And solutions are elusive, quite frankly. But I do think we're trying our best. There's a long way to go, though, T. Okay?
I appreciate your response, and I feel somewhat comforted when you say there's more we can do. I don't think we are done. There's still a lot more that you guys are looking in. I mean, if there's anything, I know you're very effective, and I've seen the way you work in community. Just before the summer, you were part of a team that launched a high school not too far away from me, and I heard brilliant things about you from all the work you did there. So I want us to go into the salt situation now. The salt situation every year is catastrophic. And I'm just wondering, with Emmanuel Caliber on council, can you give us a pre-essence or a sense of what to expect? We're going to go past fall and the snow is going to hit us. what should Edmontonians be expecting from council in terms of salt allocation, salt distribution, generally? That's you, sir.
So, pardon me. We were using salt in two forms. One was in a fluid form, and the other was in a solid form. And we council chose to eliminate the solution or the liquid salt application about 3 years ago, I think now. And but that was a very small part in a of the total amount of salt that we used. And I think that city administration had a fundamental misunderstanding of how salt is intended to be used and what the effects might be. So we will not, I don't, to my knowledge, we will not see more salt used. We'll see about the same. The city has tried to use salt and sand in a mixture that it's effective. And frankly, the city of Edmonton used to be a leader in this realm until past councils got into the mix and tried to compel more salt and less sand for reasons that remain unknown to me. Looking forward, though, our strategy going into this winter is to try to activate more of the equipment. What we found last year, and what administration finally forthrightly reported to us earlier in the summer, was that not all of the equipment that's used for clearing roads and sidewalks was active. That we didn't have enough people to operate that equipment for various reasons. But council found that to be rather alarming to see that report, while acknowledging that at least it was forthright and perhaps more data informed than past reports have been. So going forward, council approved a modest amount of money for the balance of 2022 to see more of that equipment activated, which frankly means more plowing sooner after a snow event. So we should see a dramatic effect in how quickly plows arrive. So that's one piece of the puzzle. We have more to consider as we get to November and December. We will be discussing the next 4-year operating and capital budgets, which will determine just how much money we put into snow clearing over the next 4 years. So that's a bit of a conversation to come. And then finally, for Ward Pahesawin, I moved a motion to have a snow clearing yard be built in Ambleside. So what that means is that those trucks, the piles of sand, all of that equipment and the people that operate that equipment will be much closer to our neighborhoods when they start their day. So they won't spend a lot of time traveling across the city to our corner. They will start their day in this corner of the city. And that too will allow more equipment to spend more time moving more snow on more roads faster. So I'm really hoping to see a coming together of a few of these pieces that sees our snow clearing efforts much more effective, but probably using about the same amount of salt, ideally in a more effective way.
Okay, I'm going to remember very well. Maybe, all of these changes that are coming to the snow salt situation or snow clearing situation, I should say. I'd like to ask this question. It's not random. Rent prices are outrageous in this city. I'm just wondering, in the ambit of your work as councillor, is it time to put a cap on rent? Is this part of what you do to stop greedy landlords from taking all our money, those of us who rent? Because I think it's pretty expensive for single parents to be able to rent 2-bedroom if your rent is going on at $1,700, $1,800 a month.
So I don't think we have the authority to do that in Edmonton, to put caps on rents. I'm not sure that we have the legal authority under the Municipal Government Act to do that. Nor do I think that is the solution. I think that really what we have in Edmonton is a lack of rental accommodation. There's just not enough units to go around and so if we had more units available, there would be more competition, and I think we would see at least some of that rental price fall. There's also, though, I would suggest that there's a number of people that even if the rents came down a little bit, would still have a difficult time affording their rent. So I would like to see us do things on the other side where we either supplement people's income so that they can afford the rent prices until they normalize, or do something to initiate and try to catalyze a lot more building of rental accommodation, but maybe subsidize some of the units so that some of them, or a healthy proportion of them, are available at below market rents. And I think those are better mechanisms so that we promote more building, to the point where prices come down. But in the meantime, we help those that really need the most help, and allow that to work. There's the City of Edmonton has a couple of partner organizations, and there's one called Home Ed, which does this very thing. And so what the City Council is trying to do is support Home Ed to give it much greater borrowing power so that they can buy buildings and in turn offer rental accommodation at below market rates across the city. So we're trying to encourage those organizations to do those things and support them financially to do those things. That is one. And that's frankly my favorite one, because it operates, it's essentially a city-owned organization that is working in this realm, and it's responsible to us and not to anybody else. So it's those kinds of things that I'd like to see. We recognize it's a real problem, and what we're trying to do is keep other areas of affordability more reasonable. So admissions to recreation centers, or bus fares, or other fees that the city might charge people. We want to make sure that those that have lesser income or are struggling to pay those things have the same opportunity to get access to city-owned amenities that anybody else would have. So those are our points of focus.
Thank you very much, Councillor. I know our time is nearly up, but we also didn't start our schedule. I also wanted to say that are you flexible with time? Maybe
yes,
1 or 2
yeah,
minutes.
We can take an extra few minutes. That's fine. Take as much time as you like. Sure.
All right. Thank you very much. And please forgive me. I understand that the City Council is not God Almighty, but when I put a question about healthcare, I know you had a day surgery recently and you had to take the appointment because of the healthcare situation. Is there anything, just about anything, the city can do really to help our healthcare situation?
Well, our healthcare system is challenged in so many ways, and so what we're trying to do is really encourage, and we see it manifest itself in the city, when it comes to things like mental health concerns, addiction concerns, those kinds of things. So maybe just taking them one at a time. So there's not a lot that the city can do to try to expand emergency room capacity or to see emergency room wait times improve. That is solely and completely the provincial government's responsibility. And like a lot of other organizations and agencies, they are struggling to have enough people working in order to enable them to sort of bite back on those backlogs. So that's their challenge, but it's really entirely their challenge. Whereas this is a report that we're going to consider at committee next week, talks about drug checking. And if memory serves, we've had, I think in this calendar year, roughly over 500 people die of opioid overdose in private homes. So in a home, surrounded by four walls and a roof in a private area, so to speak, versus 200 and some people that have died on the streets. To say it in that way. We have an overdose crisis. We have a use crisis, and so what the city is examining is a drug checking program that would at least help those that are using these materials to ensure that what they're using is safe and not laced with some other poisons or those kinds of things. So that's we're trying to the city sort of picks at the edges of some of these things to try to enhance the healthcare system in places where the healthcare system has a overlapping effect into places in the city. It's because when somebody overdoses either in their home or on the street, it's our rescue services that respond first. When we see numbers of vulnerable people struggling with mental health troubles or addiction problems and that are also houseless, it's the city that has to respond first. So we are both trying to enhance and bolster our responses and add resources to those, but at the same time trying to have those meaningful conversations with the province, who does have a healthcare ministry, to help us manage these issues when they land at the feet of city councillors.
Mm. All right. Well, thank you for your take on that. I'm just wondering, does a change within the provincial government in about a month's time, will it affect, actually, can the city undo any of the harm that the provincial government, there was a tussle back and forth, there was some a power tussle from the provincial side? Would the city be able to roll any of that back, given a new premier that'll be coming in anytime soon? Is it possible, any rollback or not?
Well, I'm not sure what you would define as sort of as
Power tussle.
harms that the province has done. Our relationship with the provincial government is complicated. We are closest. I'll give you a few examples. We are closest to the communities as city councillors. We hear from people immediately, and we hear about things like healthcare, like you just asked, or about schools. But we have no control over those things. So, in that way, that relationship is very much, a parental relationship. We're lobbying on behalf of our constituents, but the ultimate final decision comes with the province. And whereas we also have a financial relationship with the province, where they do provide financial support for some of our capital programs and more on our operating budgets. So, they give us some money. We feel like they should give us more money. They feel like they should give us less. So that's a constant conversation, and we continue to try to make the case for that. It's so the relationship with the province is extremely complicated, and I don't know that the underlying policies, the underlying tone, the underlying philosophy of the government is going to change with this leadership change. I don't see a significant shift, frankly. But I'll be honest, nor did I see a significant shift when with the previous government. The relationship with the province is very much that the province is the parent and the cities are the child, and they never fail to remind us of it, regardless of which party is forming the government at that time. So this is a bit of a universal struggle to try to represent our constituents and enhance, their enjoyment of the city and their experience in the city with that conversation and with that relationship.
Thank you. So what do you do for your mental health, other than talking to your constituents? And do you get time maybe to read or watch Netflix, maybe?
Yes, my wife and I usually end. Our last hour of the day is a program on television, and that we often fall asleep in front of, I must admit. So I really enjoy athletic pursuits. I run. Although with this knee surgery, perhaps not anymore. I bicycle, I golf, I hike, I walk. I try to play basketball, although I've been doing less of that. I used to play football. I can't do that anymore. So those are sort of those mental health things that I really enjoy. I enjoy fitness. I enjoy a good workout, and that certainly is my mental health release. For me, I do read. Which is odd because councillors read sometimes 3,000 pages of reports a week, but I do read for pleasure as well. So, yeah.
That's very nice to know. Councillor Cartmell, we've taken enough of your time. Maybe next time we have you, will explore some of the books you do read leisurely. But for now, I want to say thank you so very much for your time.
Thanks for the opportunity. It's really nice chatting with you, and happy to come back whenever you like.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Please enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Take care.